Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Seekers podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. I feel like I can hear in my voice that I am so tired, and that's because I am. I went out last night and I went to an event, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, then you wouldn't have been able to see my outfit, which I think I pulled off. I was looking like a Barbie, truly. And if you want to see the outfit, definitely go check it out. But I went to this really cool ball. It was called like an iconic Wonderland event. Fifi Dobson was there, which is like living out childhood dream. It was truly a vibe. But with that said, I did stay out late. Actually, not that late. I think I got home at like 12:30, which is not really that late for going out. But it's late for me because I usually go to sleep at like 10 o'clock. And I did have a few drinks as well. So naturally, my body's like, girl, what did you do? So I woke up, I don't know if anyone else has this issue, and hopefully you don't. But no matter what time I go to sleep at, no matter if I drink or if I not, it doesn't matter. I will wake up, my body will wake up at the time that it always does. So if I went out and like stayed out to like 3 a.m., which rarely happens, but let's say I do, my ass will still wake up at like 7 o'clock. And then I'm obviously very tired. So I woke up really early, did a little bit of work, and then fell back to sleep, thankfully. But I'm awake. It's almost 2 p.m. and I still feel very tired. And you know what? I will blame it a little bit on the rainy, gloomy day. Like behind me right now, there's a lot of buildings, but they're basically all up in the clouds right now. It's not the day, but it is the day to podcast. And it is the day to talk about breakups because, listen, we've all either gone through them. There's a lot of you that are currently trying to heal from them. You're trying to move on. You're trying to understand. You're trying to do the best that you can. And I think breakups are one of the hardest things for us to go through, especially when we go through it for the first time. Or we go through it for a second or a third time, however many breakups that we go through, and we still haven't really understood the process of healing and, getting over it. And I really find that if you are somebody who continues to go through breakups, we're not talking about the fact that relationships didn't work, because relationships just don't work sometimes. And we don't need to get mad at ourselves for going through a bunch of breakups. Totally fine. But it's like, if you continue to have the same response and be broken down instead of like every single time you go through a relationship or a breakup, you're kind of up leveling and you're healing and you're able to get over it kind of quicker in a way, then I do think it's important for us to really analyze like what's going on here and like why are these so difficult? Because, I've gone through 3 big breakups in my life when it came to like actually being in a serious relationship. But I've also experienced those mini breakups, the ones where you were talking to somebody for a while and you really liked them, and then, they pull away, situationships, ghosting, like all of those. Throughout my experience of going through breakups, I have found that every single time they do get so much easier. And I think I know they get easier because I'm really doing that healing work. I'm really being there with myself. I'm really taking myself through a process. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I also, of course, I asked you guys on my DM on Instagram, if you don't follow Alicia Gogan, so that you can always submit your questions when I ask. But I asked you guys if you needed any advice when it came to breakups, and you guys, of course, y'all be blowing up the DMs. So we're going to go through some of those as well. But I just kind of want to talk about the process of breaking up. So I think it's fair to say when we are going through a breakup, there's always that logical story that we eventually tap into, or we can, but sometimes we move back into our emotions, but then we come back to the logical conclusion that, there's always a reason for the breakup, right? There's always a reason in terms of, okay, we didn't work out because we're just like not compatible, or this person is unhealthy, or this person is toxic. Whatever it is, I feel like we usually can come to that logical thought process as to why a breakup is a breakup, like why it happened, but that logical reasoning obviously still doesn't really help us that much while we're going through a breakup, because really and truly, yeah, okay, we might be able to make meaning as to why the breakup happened, but why do we still get so emotional? Like, why is it still so hard? And the way that I look at it is, we all have inner childs within us that hold certain wounds and thoughts about herself or himself, but we're going to talk about girlies in this episode. And that inner child is really the one that is attached to that person, or does feel that rejection, or does feel abandoned when a breakup happens. And essentially, a breakup is triggering our inner child. It's triggering our deepest wounds. And that's the thing that we need to address. That's the thing that we need to heal, because again, we can tell ourselves, yeah, well, these are the 3 reasons why we didn't break up and whatever. And then we continue to try and move forward. But then some of the questions you guys have, it's like, why can't I move on? Like, why is this so difficult? Why? It's because you have a inner child within you that has been very much so triggered. And these feelings are not just something that's happening right now. These feelings are being brought up from the first time you've ever felt abandoned or not chosen or made fun of or rejected in your life. And really and truly, like, rejection, it doesn't feel good. Abandonment obviously doesn't feel good, but especially when we come from environments, parents, situations, everything, which we all have, when they haven't been healthy, like when we haven't really been able to heal a little trauma, a little wound that comes up for the first time we ever felt rejection in our life. And, we didn't have the proper people around us to help us through that and heal and like just reinstill self-confidence and know that we are okay and know that we're safe even when, let's say, dad walked away or, somebody didn't like me in school. When we experience that feeling once again as we're older, it's really going to be hard for us to be able to get over it because we never learned how to get over it like in a healthy way to begin with. So what I've learned over the years is, for one, when I am going through a breakup and I'm going through something that really triggers me and I'm sad and I'm broken and I'm whatever, it's so important to let yourself feel. Tap into the part of you that is feeling the rejection, the abandonment, the sadness. I feel like in this day and age, we are taught so many weird things about breakups and feelings and how you should move through breakups. And again, like, everyone's going to be different, right? But I mean, I find that sometimes we get mad at ourselves for feeling this way, especially if we do know it's a logical thing, like why we broke up, we have the answer, or it's toxic, or, everyone's saying it's obviously just not meant to be, and you're going to find your man. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter because you still have an inner child within you that is hurting. And it's important to let yourself cry, let yourself feel. And it's not a letting yourself cry because this person walked away from you specifically, or this specific person doesn't like you. It's about letting your inner child feel what it was like for the first time that she ever felt rejection or abandonment. And I think when you let yourself cry and you let yourself let out these emotions, it's almost as if you're going to reparent yourself in this moment and take on that consciousness of your adult self and witness your inner child feeling these emotions and being there for your inner child and telling her it's okay that you're feeling rejected right now. It's okay that you feel abandoned. I know it feels like crap. Like, honestly, it feels like the first time our dad left us, or we were so confused when we were younger, or the girls at school or the guys at school didn't pick us. It feels like that. It's really crappy. And allow your inner child to just have that moment and reaffirming to your inner child, yes, you are feeling rejection. Yes, you are feeling abandonment, but you also will be safe. You'll be okay, but not from a place of like, you'll get over it. It'll be fine. You'll find the next guy. You'll find whatever. But it's truly just to be like, you're allowed to feel this emotion and just know I'm going to be here with you every step of the way. Every single time you have a thought come up and you're scared and you don't know if you're going to ever be like with somebody, or you're feeling alone, I'm going to be there with you so that you're not alone. alone. I think one of the most important things that you can do for yourself when you're going through a breakup is befriend yourself, become your own best friend, really become your own inner child's best friend, but from a very loving place, from a very like motherly place, not from a place of, okay, I'm your best friend and I should tell you what's good for you, and what's good for you is not him, so like we need to get over it. Like that logical side of us can definitely play a huge role, and we'll talk about that. But the first thing, and I think with anything, when you just dive deep into your emotions and you sit with them and you let yourself cry and you let yourself let it out and you journal and you kind of get to the root of why I'm feeling like this, because it's always usually rooted back somewhere, the quicker you will start to turn around. And this is not to dive into your emotions only so you can get over it quicker, but I do think no matter what, all the breakups that I've ever been in, and especially my last breakup, old me, if I was going through the breakup that I went through with this specific person, my last relationship, if I didn't actually heal and change, that would have probably broken me. But because I've learned the process of like being with myself and letting myself feel and just not running away from my emotions and suppressing, it was one of the most seamless breakups personally that I was able to go through and coach myself through, because I let myself feel. I was there for myself. I didn't try and push myself to get over it very quickly when my inner child was clearly still feeling all of these deep emotions. And I was even thinking about this. One of my friends was actually going through a breakup around the same time I was, and she dealt with it very differently because that was the first breakup she's ever gone through. And she's very logical. She's very like me. But she was just so blown away about how distraught that she was. She couldn't even believe how distraught that she was, and how the feeling of this breakup is just felt like the whole world was ending. And I told her, these emotions that you're feeling right now, yes, they're from this certain situation, but these are deeper feelings that are being brought up and triggered right now. And I think this is a huge chance for you to really tend to these emotions and these feelings that you never once did. You were always feeling abandoned. You were always feeling rejection within you. Your inner child was always carrying that, but only until you got into this relationship, which ended up in a breakup. Only now is this coming to the surface where your inner child is saying, I can't hold on to this anymore. Like, you need to see that I'm feeling very rejected and I'm feeling not chosen and I'm feeling scared, whatever. And this is a good chance for you to now reparent yourself and now be with your inner child who is deeply hurting and needs you to be her best friend, her mother, her whatever. And again, she is very logical, and we've had many conversations as to why that relationship didn't work out, blah blah blah, but that logical part, that reasoning, sometimes can't be applied to emotions. It can't be applied to the feminine sometimes. And so that's why I say, when you're going through anything, whether it's a small little breakup, I don't care what it is, and it really wasn't anything and there was no labels on it, or it was a big one, you have to let yourself feel. The next thing that I want to talk about that I think is very important when you're going through a breakup, and I used to not do this, and in my last breakup, I made sure that I was doing this, even though I didn't really want to, was to get support. Listen, I am somebody who has done most of the things in her life on her own. I've had to be responsible at a very young age. I'm also very emotionally intelligent, so I can really be my own best friend and I can be my own therapist and I can do all that. But I still understand the importance of leaning on other people. You just can't go through things alone. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how logical you are. If you're letting yourself cry, whatever, you need to have people around you for support. It is so helpful and so healing for you to allow other people come and hold your inner child, hold your emotions, let yourself cry in front of your friends, even if you don't feel that comfortable, but whatever. Let yourself be able to talk about the situation. Let yourself be able to just be around people who understand what you're going through and see you. Like, let people witness you. And comparing my last breakup with the other ones that I went through, my older breakups, I remember when I would go through them, I would be such a hermit and I would want to just be so introverted. And my mom used to always tell me, go out and see your friends and get your mind off of it, blah, blah, blah. But I'm somebody who my mind is always on the thing. Like I want to analyze it and I want to think about it 1,000 million times. And I was convinced that doing that was somehow helping me and healing me. And I just wanted to be my bubble. But I realized that being in my bubble actually made the situation so much bigger than it even needed to be, because not only was I not even actually tending to my wounds in my inner child, I never even looked at myself like that. All of my attention and my time was put on the wrong things. I was focusing on the story and changing it every 3 seconds and being like, maybe this is why he doesn't want to be with me, or that, your inner child starts to get in your head and be like, yeah, see, like I'm not picked the same way that I wasn't picked in school, and I'm ugly, or I'm not cute enough, or I'm not smart enough for him, or I'm not successful, all of these things. And having the support system around you, it really does get your mind off of things. It's not really to ignore the fact that you're going through a breakup. You're allowed to be in the moment and still feeling what you feel, even when you're around your friends. But it's so important that you show your inner child and you show yourself that there are people around you who, first of all, have you, support you, love you, but also just to remind yourself, like, there is so much life out here. There are so many more connections that you're going to make. There's so many things that will come to you. And I feel like sometimes it's hard for you to have that thought and believe that and be like, oh, I can move on and like I'll find another person and I'll be fine, whatever, when you're in your mind and you're sitting in your room and you're just like ruminating. And honestly, thinking back to my intention of making sure I had sisterhood, honestly, like just a lot of women around me, and I let myself be vulnerable and I told them what I was going through instead of just holding it all in. That actually created such deep bonds with these women outside of anything to do with the breakup. It just allowed me to connect deeper with women, and to the point where I have even stronger bonds with these people because I allowed them to witness me through a time that was very hard. And that was also very healing. We don't realize sometimes that the healing is not going to come in the form of getting another guy or getting into a new relationship or going back to the old person. The healing can come from us reparenting ourselves and being there for our inner child, but also letting other people come in and help heal us. Another thing that really helped me get through my breakup, the past one, that I think was just so amazing, was to tap into my logical part of myself and come up with a story that I was able to kind of guide my inner child back when my inner child wanted to go to the self-doubt, just the bad thoughts of being like, was it me? Or maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm not pretty enough. All of those things that the inner child will go to. Because the truth is, like I said, you're going to go on an emotional roller coaster. You're going to wake up one day and maybe you'll feel like, okay, I think I can take on today. I'm going through a breakup right now, but everything's okay. Like I have this story in my head and why we broke up and it's fine and we can do this. But then you're going to go out into the world and you're going to have the old thoughts come back up, second guessing everything. Was that really the reason why he broke up with me? Or maybe I'm not good enough, or, you have all those thoughts. And it's good for you to lovingly, it's almost like your parent adult self, your logical self is going to, in those times, be witnessing the inner child that wants to go on this emotional roller coaster and go back up into the old spiraling beliefs. You want to lovingly take your inner child's hand and be like, okay, I understand that you're feeling very abandoned once again. The feeling of abandonment, the feeling of rejection is coming back up. That's fine. You're allowed to feel that, right? You're allowed to feel that. But I'm also going to take your hand and we're slowly going to come just over here a little bit. And we're going to come back to the logical story that we have created for ourselves to get through this breakup. And we're going to remind ourselves, it's not you. This is why it didn't work out. You're going to be able to get through this even when you are feeling these emotions. This is what happens in life. Breakups happen. Whatever it is, you're going to have to come up with a story that's going to feel good for your inner child. And it's going to be important that you stick to that story. I remember when I would go through breakups and I would try and tell myself a story of, okay, this is why we didn't work out. And, just it is what it is, right person, wrong time, or maybe he's too young, whatever the thing was that I was going through at the time. But then 5 minutes later, I'd be like, wait, but what if he, actually is doesn't want to be with me because of this reason. And, I just went on Instagram and I saw that he, is talking to someone new now. So maybe it actually was me. Now, whatever. Stop. You have to have discipline in a way of sticking to one story and guide yourself through this process of a breakup. It is not going to help you to continue to overanalyze the situation and come up with this answer or that story. So I think those are the 3 things that have really helped carry me through breakups. Is 1, just letting myself feel and going deeper into these triggers and these wounds, because first of all, if you've never done it, you will start to realize that there's a lot of things that you weren't even aware that you held within you, feeling of abandonment, and realizing, oh, whoa, like I've always felt like this in relationships, or I've always felt like I'm not chosen, and learning how to heal from that. And obviously you can heal in many different ways. You can heal by simply just being with yourself for the first time ever. And instead of crying about the fact that he didn't choose you, you're crying for your inner child that never got consistency, that was abandoned in childhood, that was rejected. Like, let yourself cry for her. Have people around you that can support you. Have people around you that you can talk to, not in a sense of you over analyzing the situation, because we'll talk about that, and just trying to unpack with your friends and trying to figure out like, oh, why do you think he did this or that, like whatever, but just honestly letting people in and allowing people to kind of take your mind off of it in a way, and for them to help you remind you of yourself and your worth and how amazing you are and how there's so much life to be lived and so many beautiful things for you to explore and experience in life outside of this little bubble that you have been going through. And lastly, coming up with a logical story that you are going to stick to for the times when you are going on the roller coaster, or really your inner child wants to go back into that roller coaster. And this could be 10, 15, 20 times a day that you're sitting there and you're feeling okay, and then you're spiraling. Okay, when you're spiraling, what story are we going to go back to? Okay, so let's get into some of your questions. I love answering your guys' questions. I'm going to try and get through a lot. There was so many, but we'll try. First question, how to deal with the feeling of loneliness. So like I've been saying, it's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to feel that like you're alone. Like when I'm feeling alone or sad or rejected or abandoned, I just let myself be okay with feeling that. Like it's totally fine. Of course you're going to feel alone, especially when somebody breaks up with you or you no longer have that person anymore or whatever. Even now for me, sometimes I just feel alone because I am alone. There's so many things that I still do myself and I have so many great days, but there are days where I feel alone and I feel like, oh, I wish I could share this part of my life with anyone, not even just thinking about old relationships or people, but I just wish I could share my life with someone. But that's just where I'm at in my life. But I think for one, let yourself feel. It's okay to feel alone. And honestly, you need to become, once again, that parent of yourself and remind your inner child, remind the part of you that's feeling alone that, listen, it's okay to feel alone, but we need to get going here. Like we need to live our lives. Like we can't just continue to ruminate and spiral in this feeling of loneliness. And one thing that has helped me is to try and show my inner child, or the part of me that does feel alone, evidence that I actually am not alone. Yeah, okay, maybe right now in your room, you're sitting here and somebody broke up with you, you're feeling very alone, but okay, do we have parents around us? Do we have friends? Do we have people in our lives that want to talk to us and want to hang out and want to do things? Probably. And the biggest thing when it comes to combating loneliness is to have a routine. Why are you spending so many hours of your day ruminating in the feeling of loneliness, which again, I don't want to like negatively look at feelings, but why are we not getting up at a certain time every morning, going to the gym, taking care of ourselves, making ourselves food, doing our schoolwork, whatever it is that we need to do? Why are we not doing that? Why are we spending so much time with this feeling instead of actually living our lives? So there's probably some things that you're slacking on, that you're not doing, that you're telling yourself, I can't do this. I'm feeling too alone right now. I'm feeling sad, You need to have some discipline and say, you know what, we're going to do these things. And we're going to do these things, even though these things might not make us feel the best. Because that's the thing, right? When we're going through something hard, especially a breakup, it's like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go back out and live my life. And we wait for the day that we're not going to feel sad to do those things. But the truth is, you're probably going to feel sad. Like, you might go to the gym feeling sad, and that's fine. But at least you're going to the gym. At least you're taking one step forward. And I feel like we're very black and white, but we can't wait for our feelings to subside to continue to take care of ourselves. And really, in taking care of ourselves is what's going to help us not feel so lonely. Someone asked how to resist the urge to go back to your ex when they've treated you horribly. Coming back to creating a life that keeps you focused, keeps you healthy is going to be very crucial, because I remember the times where I would feel the urge to want to talk to a guy or try and text him, or, the one that wasn't good for me. And it was always the times where I wasn't taking care of myself. I was sitting in my bed, just thinking and scrolling and not having a life. That's where you're susceptible to thinking about the ex or texting the ex, or same thing when you go out and you party with your friend and you drink. It's like, you're going to be more susceptible to the end of the night, have these emotions and have these thoughts about this person. So maybe it's time to back off the drinking, or, back off the Netflix and chilling and wasting your time, and go do something that's going to take your mind away from this person. And again, coming back to this logical part of us, coming back to the story that you might need to tell yourself, and in this case is, this person's toxic for you. For you to go back, really play this out. You go back, what is it going to be? It's going to be the same thing over and over. You're going to get that first dopamine kick of, oh, maybe they show you some attention, or, going back to the ex just feels so great, until it doesn't. Until 3 weeks later, it's the same argument, the same thing, whatever. You need to really bring yourself back to those moments to remind yourself it's not worth it. Someone said they got involved with a non-monogamous man and they had like a sad phase. And I'm going to give you some tough love here. If this is not something that you want, if you don't want to date somebody who is non-monogamous, then you need to remove yourself, because this is what is going to be reality. You're going to be sad about it. You're not going to be, first of all, it's not your job to change somebody and make them try and commit to you, or make them try and be whoever they're. It's not. It's really you working against the universe, in my opinion, when you're trying to do shit like that. If a man is telling you what he wants or who he is, take it at face value. If they are saying that they do not want a relationship right now, but you do, you need to have enough self-worth and confidence within yourself to walk away. And this will bring you back to, why are you settling? Why do you feel like you have to be with somebody who is telling you in your face that they want something that you don't want? This is a self-worth thing. This is really like something that you need to heal from, because again, it's like, why are you, literally somebody is saying that they don't want what you want, but you're going to take it anyways. That is to me a sign from the universe that it's trying to get you to see what you don't want to see, what you don't want to work on, what you don't want to heal. And I mean, you can go into resistance and you can stay and you can try and force and try and make things differently, but it's not going to end up well. And I think to expedite your process, it's really, really beneficial for you to look inwards and ask yourself, why am I settling? Because this is what it is. It's settling. Like, why are we getting involved with men who don't want to commit to us, or are saying in front of our faces that they are this sort of person and they're not going to give us what we want? It's because we have low self-esteem. It's because we have all of these wounds we probably haven't dealt with. It's because we settle. And until we really do that work, we're only ever going to get into these situations. And is the goal not to actually be with somebody who wants to be with us 100%? Like, obviously you're sad about the fact that he doesn't want to be monogamous. Is that not what you want? If that's what you want, though, it's going to be up to you to take responsibility to first heal your own wounds. It's not your fault that this person's like this, right? But it's like, heal the wound that led you back into these relationships where they're not what you want. Why do you not believe that you can have what you want in your life? Someone said, how to move on from a relationship that didn't end badly. I think this is something that I recently went through, because it didn't end badly, and there's a lot of logical reasoning behind why it didn't work out. And it was a very healthy relationship. So I feel this heavily. I think it comes back to, again, just letting yourself feel like you're going to mourn that loss of that person, regardless if it went well or didn't go well. Like, it's totally fine. You have some thoughts come up here and there. just let yourself be. It's totally fine. I think the more that we let ourselves feel, the less that part of us comes online because we're letting it take up space. But again, coming back to that logical story that we must tell ourselves, it didn't work out because of this. We weren't meant to be together. This person's going through this in their life and they can't show up a certain way. It has nothing to do with me. I don't need to make it about me. I also don't need to make it about them. It just is what it is. Like, we need to start having those conversations with ourselves, with our inner child, because those are the conversations that are going to allow us to heal, to get through it. And on top of that, be able to get into an actual relationship where we want to be in, a healthy relationship, because is that not what we're all here trying to do? Someone said, I'm having flashbacks that make me think about things as if they were like my fault, which I feel like naturally we all have that. But again, it's the discipline and it's the you being that parent to your inner child that wants to go back and wants to be like, pick at something that you did in the past. Oh, well, maybe he broke up with me because I started doing that thing and whatever. And you know what? Maybe there are things that you need to take accountability for, but you can't sit here and constantly go back into the past and shame yourself and get mad at yourself for things not happening. Because it's my personal opinion that things always happen for a reason anyways. And all you can do is look back and see how you played a role in this breakup, but not to a point where you're telling yourself like you are the reason and you're to blame and you're so wrong. Okay, maybe you did make a mistake. Maybe you did act out of this way or this wound, whatever. How are you going to tend to that wound? How are you going to heal from that and move on? And a logical thing to tell yourself is you're allowed to make mistakes. And if somebody is really going to break up with you because you showed up this certain way in a relationship and they didn't want to work on that with you, I mean, come on. It's, again, not to give yourself a green light and a pass for maybe doing things that were toxic or whatever. Of course, like, it obviously depends on your situation, but you don't have to be perfect. Nobody needs to be. I don't want to be with a person who, you know, let's say I did make a comment or I acted out of this way, whatever, and they just they want to like throw a whole relationship out of the way instead of have that conversation with me and trying to heal that thing that might have come up. Like, I don't want to be with a person like that. So, you know, again, you don't have to be perfect. And when your mind goes back to there, it's so important to lovingly bring your inner child back and be like, we don't need to go there. We don't need to think about that thing. It's not helpful. It's not helpful to go back and think about all the scenarios and what if I just did this right? Or what if I just said this instead of that? It doesn't matter. It's happened. Okay. It's happened. You're allowed to make mistakes. It's okay. Someone said, how to not feel jaded when things don't work out. Another thing that I definitely went through with my past relationship, you know, naturally I had the thought of like, again, like, why is this happening? Especially when things go well in a relationship. Again, I let myself feel jaded. I was like, you know what? I'm going to let myself feel jaded. Yeah, it fucking sucks that I got to go through this again. You know, I have to eventually go back into a new relationship. But I think what's also helped me is to not try and hop into another relationship or another thing right away and to kind of take my mind off of relationships in general. Now, you don't have to do this, right? Because a lot of us could be ready for a relationship. We are actually ready for a relationship, but that person might not be. But I mean, to not feel so jaded. Sometimes like when we think about, okay, now we're going to go back into dating or back onto apps or thinking about new people in our lives, it makes us feel like, oh, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it again. So don't. There are a million other things and aspects in your life that are important outside of having a romantic relationship with somebody. So how can I focus on strengthening the relationships I already have in my life? Or what do I need to do for my career? Or what do I need to do for my health? There's so many other things that you can put your focus on, which I do think helps when you're feeling jaded in being in like relationships in general. And again, we don't want to be jaded, right? I am somebody who, no matter what, I do not want to look at relationships like, same thing over and over again. Men are all trash. Same thing over. No, I don't. So if I'm getting into that mindset, that's a good indicator for me to step back for a moment, just detach and put my focus into something else. Someone said, how to get over someone who cheated and you know that they're basically not going to be held accountable for that thing. It is not, you don't need to worry about them being held accountable because one, people who do that and cheat, their time will come. There's things that they clearly need to heal, but it's like, it's unfortunate. I actually have an episode. It's my first podcast episode of letting go, moving on, and like forgiving. And sometimes like the forgiving and the moving on, not sometimes, it's always, and it should be for yourself so you can move on. We don't need to get tied up in when are they going to be held accountable and, you know, they should say sorry and this, that. Yeah, ideally that would be so nice, right? But listen, this person is a cheater for a reason. This person is not good mentally, or whatever they're doing. It's just not good. It's not healthy for you. So let's just let that go. Let's just, somebody else can deal with that. Let's stand in our own self-worth and remind ourselves what we are deserving and worthy of and move forward. Let's not put all of our focus and our attention on somebody who cheated on us. Someone wanted advice on wondering if they think of you or not. I mean, your ex always thinks of you, in my personal opinion. Like, if you're thinking about them, they're most likely thinking about you. Maybe not in the same context. Like, it obviously depends, right? But no matter what, they're going to be thinking about you. But why does it matter? Why does that matter? Again, it's like the focus is always so much on the other person. And I get it. But it's like we need to take our attention back to ourselves. It's like this toxic masculine energy of honing in on that thing and psychoanalyzing it and wondering what they're doing and when and how and why. It's like, why don't you bring your energy back to yourself and drop back into that feminine and realize, first of all, you're worthy of caring about yourself more than this person. At the end of the day, I don't care how good of a person this is, and like lovingly we can send them love and compassion if it didn't work out, but it was for a healthy reason. This person walked away from you. So we need to remind ourselves that. And if you are sitting in your bed wasting your precious time thinking about what are they doing and wondering if they're thinking, who cares? They decided to walk away. Do the same. Someone said, I want a sexual rebound without engaging in hookup culture. When I first read this, I was thinking, well, that is hookup culture. That's how I look at it. I don't look at hookup culture just being one night stands. I look at it as getting yourself into situationships with people who you're just sleeping with, and that's that. But I mean, I guess you could find somebody who is on the same page with you in terms of they don't want to have anything serious, but they also just like want to be sexual. I personally don't think that that's healthy, especially after a breakup. But if that's what you're looking for, then do it if you want. But I don't think that it's healthy. And I don't see how you can kind of separate those two, because again, hookup culture leads into more damage, in my opinion, especially when it comes to getting past the breakup. Like, you're giving your body, you're giving your time, your energy to somebody who is not looking for anything serious. And I just think that it ends up creating more of a wound. And I think you need to ask yourself the question of, why is it that I want this rebound so bad? Why do I want to just have this? I get why people want to have like a sexual rebound. It's like, yeah, you're horny, this, that. But it's like, are we running away from something though that we should maybe be tending to, instead of focusing on the next guy that we're going to sleep with, or the next guy that can live in our phone and text us and make us feel better about our breakup? Like, that's, to me, and I get it, I get the rebound thing, but I just think it's a Band-Aid. I think that over the years I've learned that it has been for me, and I stopped doing that for so long. And I don't even mean sleeping with people, but just having a guy in my phone to make me feel okay when I'm going through a breakup. I think it's you running away, and it's like, it's doing your inner child a disservice. And instead of you actually sitting with yourself and letting yourself go through all those ranges of emotion and becoming your own best friend and loving yourself and supporting yourself, you're going to use another man or another situationship to tend those wounds. That's not a healthy practice, in my opinion. And really and truly, what's going to happen is that whole situation is going to create even more wounds and more sadness. And then what, you're going to go on to another thing and another thing and another thing, and you're going to be left with the same wound. And if you just decided to put on your big girl pants and heal yourself, you would realize that you really don't need any of these losers anyways. You'll end up finding that you're able to actually get into the relationship that you've always actually wanted, instead of these crappy rebound relationships that you don't actually want. Someone said, how to be okay with the fact that he's no longer providing for you. Listen, I'm going to be loving in this answer, because really and truly, I see that if you are used to a certain lifestyle, it's going to be hard for you to switch that lifestyle. But I mean, coming from a person who's never been provided for in that way from a man in a relationship, well, sorry, I should take that back. I have always been with providers, but I mean, in terms of like having everything, it seems as if you probably had most things taken care of, and you just like never learn how to do it, because she did have a follow-up thing about that, and she kind of has to work now and blah, blah, blah. I've never been in that situation. I think no matter what, this is a good learning lesson for you to realize that you should have your own money and be working and doing these things just for yourself. And I want to be careful when I say that, because I don't like the narrative when some girls will be like, you should always have your own money and never rely on a man. You should always have a backup plan. I don't want to look at it in that lens, to the point, because it's almost like you're just never trusting that person, right? It's less about that. It really is. But it's more about you're working and you're on purpose and you're finding something that you're passionate about, or you're contributing to society because it's a good thing to do. You're a human being. You should be doing something in life. And on top of that, that allows you to have your own life, a full life. Again, this person that you're romantically with, yes, this person's going to be such a big part of your life, but you should have your own life, your own friends, your own job, making money, like just being a normal human being, so that you can also show up better in your relationships. So, thinking about the plan B, all of that aside, you should just have something going for yourself, because you are a human being and you should live. Like, that's what living is. And I know it's obviously going to depend, because some people are stay-at-home moms and they want to be, and that's totally fine. But even, let's say, take away the job, like the money aspect, you should still have friends. You should still have more interests. You should still like not be constantly obsessed with this person and make this person be your absolute life. Not from a place of, I don't trust that they're always going to be around, but just from a place of like, you're a human being and you should be connected and live a full life. So I feel like in terms of feeling okay with the fact that this person's not providing for you anymore, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And you're going to get your fucking ass up and work, baby. Someone said, I'm worried about breaking his heart. Listen, obviously breaking somebody's heart is not ideal. I don't think it needs to be that dramatic in terms of, I'm going to break him. First of all, you don't even know how this person might respond. Maybe you do. Maybe you do know this person. But also it's like, let's just bring ourselves back to the logical story here, the logical aspect, and realize that you cannot stay in a relationship if you're not happy, if it's not working, and this person's not right for you. And yeah, maybe this person's going to feel bad, but it's like, what, you're going to stay in something just because you're scared to hurt somebody's feelings? You can also do it in a very loving way. Like, you don't need to, ghost them or not explain. You don't need to over-explain as well, but it's like, I'm sure you can use your words and your communication skills to send the loving message of, this is why I think that I need to remove myself from this relationship, and I know it's going to hurt you, and whatever it is, but like, it doesn't need to be so abrupt and so hard. But also just reminding yourself, like, okay, so if you're going to just be in this relationship because you don't want to hurt their feelings, then this is not a genuine relationship. Someone said, why can't I forget my first love? Because it's your first love. I find sometimes we can't get over someone because we have an attachment issue. Like, we don't believe that if we actually detach, that we're going to be safe, that there's going to be somebody else out there for us, that, we're okay on our own. We also tell ourselves the stories of like, no one else is ever going to be the same as him, and only he can make me feel like this, and only our relationship made the most sense. Like, all of those little stories, like, you have to kind of rationalize with yourself again. Like, first of all, there are so many people on this earth. There's just no way that you're never going to not find somebody who is the perfect match for you. And if we're stuck on the story of he is the person, listen, it's my opinion that the universe doesn't just create somebody who's absolutely perfect for you and then take them away. No. Things are always a lesson. Let's learn the lesson that we need to learn from this situation. And we can, yes, lovingly miss them from a distance and whatever. But just know that there's going to be somebody better out there for you, but you're not going to find that person if you are energetically attached to this person and you're telling yourself the story of, he's the one, he's the one. He's not the one. There's just no way that he is the one if this person is not with you. He might have been somebody that shows you what you do want in a relationship moving forward. I've learned over the years what I want and what I don't want from all of these relationships that I've been in. And that's just helps me build a new, healthier relationship with someone else. Someone said, how to move on without closure. I feel like this is difficult because I feel as if most of us don't get the closure that we want, because really and truly, we don't even want the closure. Like, we want to just be with that person if they're breaking up with us. So that's just one thing to note. So I think that no matter what, it's never really going to feel like closure because we actually want to be with them. Sometimes it's unfortunate, but we have to come to our own conclusions as to why things didn't work out. And personally, I like to choose a story that makes sense and makes me feel good. So this is not to try and boost myself. This is not trying to ignore how I might have played a role or ignore reality and tell myself I'm the best and the queen and he's just a loser. Like, I don't speak about the men that I've been with like that anyways, but in general, like, I am very self-aware. So I make sure that I'm not living in reality, but I just tell myself a story of, you know what? Things didn't work out because this person was in their phase of life where they were not able to show up the way that I was looking for, or they have things that they need to work through and they weren't able to show up in a healthy way to the point where they were ghosting or they were pulling away or they were just not tapped into their emotions enough to be able to express it and communicate properly. They became messy. They were a cheater. They were whatever. Like, at the end of the day, it's really not about you and it's about them. And that's what you honestly have to tell yourself. And I know it can sound like it's a little bit egotistical and narcissistic to say that, but you do need to tell yourself that, because what is the point on you making yourself feel worse about the situation? It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you closer to healing. That's for damn sure. And honestly, it's in my opinion, if somebody's really not giving you any closure, then it really is that matter of fact that this person is not okay. And in that case, it's not personal. It's not about me. It's about you. And I feel sorry for you. And I hope that you work through the things that you need to work on. But I'm not going to let this affect who I am as a person. I'm not going to let this, tear my self-worth down and now look at myself like I'm less than, that I'm a loser, that I'm, all of these things. I'm not going to do that because somebody else doesn't know how to show up in a relationship. Somebody else doesn't know how to communicate. Somebody else doesn't know how to give me the same respect that I've given them. Someone said he left me because he knew I deserved better. Honestly, I feel like I've had a lot of those type of situations in my life where it really was the case of a man realizing the type of man that he needed to be for me, and he wasn't able to step up to the plate. And it hasn't always been like that, but it definitely has. And in that sense, I think honestly, that's probably the best situation you could be in, is realizing that you're actually better than that person. And I know this sounds really bad, but you know what I mean. And considering I think that the universe is always wanting you to learn things about yourself and relationships and just whatever is happening in your life, like there's always a lesson to be learned. I think this specific lesson is for you to realize, why is it then that I'm settling in a way? Because if somebody is seeing your worth to the point where they're walking away from you because they can't step up to the plate, why the fuck are you dating somebody who literally can't step up to the plate? Why do you not know your value? Why are you not with somebody who can take on that value and be like, yes, I can do this. She's amazing. And again, it's not to look at another person like they're not valuable and they're not whatever, but it's simply sometimes that's the situation. Sometimes you're dating a guy who just financially he's not together, or he's younger and he still has years to date and whatever. And it's not the right time, and you are so amazing and so valuable, but he's not able to be that man for you. And then it's like, why am I continuously dating these people who clearly don't have the confidence within themselves, who clearly don't have the emotional capacity to be able to hold space for me? What am I missing? What are the red flags that I'm missing? What are things that I'm putting to the side and I'm saying, oh, okay, it's fine. He can't really be everything that I'm looking for right now, but maybe I'm asking for too much, blah, blah, blah. But it's like the universe is literally showing you right in front of your face through a man who's saying, you are so amazing that I don't even have the confidence within myself to be with you. And if you cannot see that, then come on. This is a time for you to really reevaluate why you are placing your value very low, why you are not seeing just how amazing you are. And honestly, I think for a lot of women, And not all of us, of course. A lot of us have so much more value than we even know. And we settle and we continue to stay. And the universe is like, when are you going to stop settling? When are you going to see that you're so fucking amazing that you should be aiming for higher, honestly? And if we really look deeper, it's because we have a lot of low self-worth. We've had experiences in our past where fathers, brothers, friends, relationships, whatever, have led us to believe that we are unworthy, we are asking for too much, we don't deserve X, Y, and Z. And that's actually not what we deserve. It's just what we have been handed in our life. That's just the experience that we've gone through. And the universe is constantly being like, when are you going to realize that you actually are more valuable? And until you realize that, I'm going to continue to bring you people who can't handle it, who have to walk away, or unfortunately sometimes hurt you until you realize that you need to have better boundaries, that you need to stand up into your self-worth and say, no, I am not doing this. I'm not going to let any man just walk into my life and fucking bulldoze me and, sell me lies or, take advantage of me or whatever it is. And bringing it back to the fact that there are just going to be relationships where they're actually very healthy and this person is amazing. It's just you guys didn't work out. This is simply a lesson of you learning what you like, what you don't like. And that's that. Like, we don't need to take things so personally sometimes. We take things so goddamn personally when it comes to breakups, and it doesn't need to be like that. And my past relationship, like I've said, was one of the most, I wouldn't say smooth sailing because I went through all the emotions. I let myself cry. I felt all of the things. Trust me, they all came up. But it was so easy for me to really see things for what it was when I took my emotions out of it and I just came back to my logical self and said, you know what, this is the lesson that I need to learn. Of course, there's always specific lessons in every single relationship that you have that you need to learn from. I don't need to take this personally. And, this is another chance for me to love myself even more. And let's continue to move forward. And from that healing state, I am now dating in a new lens. My value has gone up, not to a point where I'm looking at myself like I'm holier than now, but just in a way of knowing my worth. I know my worth even more now based off of the past. And I think that you start to learn your worth once you actually become your own best friend and love yourself instead of falling back into rebounds or toxic behaviors and things of that nature. It is time for us to level up. It's time for us to actually take accountability for what the fuck is going on in our relationships instead of playing the victim, crying our eyes out all day and doing the same thing over and over again. Because if you're going to continue to talk to your friends or yourself about, I just want a husband and I just want a guy who's going to love me, Okay, well, it starts with you. I know we don't want to hear it. We want to blame everyone else. We want to blame all the men who are being trashed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what got you into that relationship in the first place with that toxic guy? It was your low boundaries. It was the fact that you probably have low self-esteem. It's the fact that you probably didn't know your value to begin with. And that's totally okay. It's understandable. We have certain things that have created this idea of who we are. And it's not something to shame ourselves for, but it is something to reclaim and be like, you know what? I am no longer doing it this way. The universe is clearly trying to talk to me and really trying to help me up-level my life, and this is the time to do it. Do we not all want, I know not everyone wants marriage and kids, blah, 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 but I feel like, the girlies who are listening to this, the majority of us, we want the marriage, we want the family, we want all these things. Well, it's going to require us to do things a different way. Let's not wait around for the guy to save us and for the guy to be the one, Let's become that person who's going to attract the guy who knows our value from fucking day one, who is going to come correct, who is going to treat us exactly how we should be treated. And the truth is, you really do train people, especially men, how to treat you based off how you treat yourself. And I actually found a quote, and the quote was talking about how are you expecting somebody to choose you when you don't even choose yourself? We are so obsessed with wanting somebody to pick us and when is it going to be and when is it going to be my time? Well, are you choosing yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you standing in your self-worth? Are you learning how to have boundaries? Probably not, because I never did. But I would always complain about, and I'll get jaded. Men are all trash, until I started taking accountability for my own shit, started healing my own stuff. And every single time I did that, I got into such better relationships to the point where those relationships, those healthy relationships actually allowed me to learn what I wanted and what I did not want in a man, and helped me build my self-worth. And I know that that is only going to allow me to attract an even better man for me. And that is just that. So 2 things that I want to say. I think next week, I don't know if I'm going to split it up to 2 more episodes or not, but I want to talk about situationships and settling a little bit deeper, as well as ghosting and things of that nature. So if you do have any questions regarding that, definitely follow me on Instagram, because I'm going to ask you guys sometime next week or in the DMs, whatever, what advice you need, because I feel like a lot of girls, and oh my gosh, did I ever have this phase of, the roster of guys, or the guy who lives in your phone, or, what does this mean? He's pulling away, or what should I do? And like, we need to have a serious fucking conversation about that, because that's the shit that's going to keep you stuck. And we no longer want to be stuck over here, honey. One last thing when it comes to healing, I would suggest you get the book called The Power of Attachment by Diane Poole. This is very helpful for you to understand your attachment style, because the truth is, we get into these relationships based off of the relationships that were shown to us in our childhood. And if we really don't connect those dots, we're going to continue to find ourselves in the same thing over and over again, accepting the same things, because that's what we've been taught. That's what we think we deserve. That is what we are used to. That's what we feel safe in, even though it's not safe and it's not healthy. And if you find yourself going into the same situation over and over again, no matter what you try and tell yourself logically, you can't get through it. It's important for you to go deeper, do the healing work, and learn about yourself and your past. So of course you can do that with therapy, but that is such a good book to understand your relational patterns. I'll have that in the link in the description as well on my Amazon shop. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Just know if you're going through a breakup, of course it's going to get better. It always does. Take it from me, take it from all my friends that I've ever, helped coach through when it comes to breakups. It is a part of life. We all go through them. They are definitely hard, but you know what? Let it be. Let it be. But just make sure that you are becoming your own best friend, and you are there with yourself, and you are no longer running away from yourself. I promise you, it feels hard, and it's not something that we want to do, to be with ourselves and sit through these negative emotions. But I promise you, it is so much better than you running away from them. I seriously promise you that. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Don't forget to leave a rating if you liked it as well on Spotify and Apple. That really helps me out. You can even leave a review if you want. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.